Hello, I'm Lexi Lauer, and I'm going to present to you a presentation about special education history, how it all started, um, and what is becoming of it now, where we're kind of headed in the future with special education. First of all, I just wanted to say that I really have a desire in my heart to become a special education teacher. My daughter is 2 years old and she has Down syndrome. And I just wanted to say how grateful I am for special education services. She's in Arrowhead West and she has been since she was born. And it has really molded her into a much better person physically and mentally. And I'm very thankful for their services. They do a great job, and I'm also very excited to become a special ed teacher myself. I think it's very important. So anyway, special education began in the 1800s. They started looking into it, and in the U.S., the American School for Deaf led the way. It was the first special education school, and then after that came the American Asylum for Education in 1817, and it was in Hartford, Connecticut. It was the American Asylum for Education, and then there was the Instruction of the Deaf and Dumb in the same place in 1817. And it was the first school in the Western Hemisphere for disabled children. In the 1800s, the first residential institution was found by Samuel Gridley Howe, and it was the first institution for mental retardation, and it was in Boston, Massachusetts. And then over the next century, many children and adults were institutionalized for the rest of their lives. In 1864, Columbia Institution for Deaf and Blind was authorized by U.S. Congress to grant college degrees. First college in the world created for people with disabilities. Special education history in the 1900s. The 1900s really, a lot of things happened in special education in the 1900s. In the early 20th century in the U.S., a lot of kids or people with disabilities were lumped together. The children who were blind, the children that were deaf, they had learning disabilities, mental retardation, and then the children of foreign parents. And they were all housed and kept together. And the populations were kept separate from disabled children. And then we had in the U.S. and England, there was the normal children movement, and it got people thinking about educating children with disabilities. And then in 1913 in England, and then 1918 in the U.S., there was the law of the compulsory education for the law of the land. And it didn't come an immediate reality. And then there was the next stage, which is called segregation. And so students with disabilities, they were in the school with other children, but they weren't in the same classrooms. So we still have that today. There are special education teachers with different classrooms for disabled children, and it kind of gives them that one-on-one time to work with those students. And I also read somewhere that they want to make it to where disabled children can be in the same classroom as their peers, but it's very hard to incorporate that and make that work as of right now. So they haven't found a way to do that. And then there were the 6 crucial elements in special education. Free and appropriate public education for children. There was a least restrictive environment, a system to find and assess children fairly. There was the due process to ensure accountability, parental participation in the special education process. There was the IEPs that were created to set down the program for each child so that everyone could have a shared understanding to accommodate them and provide the appropriate education for that student. In the 2000s now, the IDEA came about, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and they have done a lot. It was most recently updated in 2004, and it specifies disabilities for which a child receives education, requires individual education programs for each student, and carries the free appropriate public education. So they also came with the No Child Left Behind Act of 2002. So where are we headed with special education? 20 years ago, disabled children were denied of special services. People didn't really care about special education. They didn't want anything to do with it. They just kind of wanted to do, I don't know what they wanted disabled children to do, but they denied the disabled children of services and enrollment, and because of their disabilities. And so today, special education is the largest program used in schools. It's very expensive. It costs $32 billion. And now the IDEA allows students who weren't allowed to enroll earlier to enroll now. And the number of elementary and secondary students receiving special education has increased from 3.7 million to 4.6. So from 8% to 11%. And the population of students eligible for special education is expected to continue to rise. So basically, I just think special education is going to be obviously used from here on out. I think that we'll come up with different techniques and better ways to suit the needs of children with disabilities. And I think that we will only expand from here on out. It has definitely changed over the years. There have been new teaching methods. There have been different ideas and new concepts that have come about throughout special education. And I think it's an exciting time for special ed teachers and for the students with disabilities, because I think it's only going to get better from here on out. And also, technology definitely helps, millions of students. The millions of students that have disabilities, the technology definitely helps special need children. It definitely has become a major focus, I guess. And I think it's going to be used a lot with special education teachers. And another problem I think that we could face is that because it costs so much for special education, I think that we'll be headed toward maybe like budget cuts, and those would be some of the issues that we would face in the future with special education. And I just think that we're definitely headed in a good direction for special ed. So here is a timeline of historical events of special education. In 1866, we had the Civil Rights Act. In 1896, we had Plessy versus Ferguson, and then the Brown versus Board of Education, and so on. I just thought this was kind of interesting for you guys to look at because of all the different things that have happened in history for special education. And like I said, I do think that we are headed in a good direction for special ed. I think there are more, I think there's more programs out there to help, and I think the technology is a great thing. We can use technology because it's always going to transform, and it's always going to enhance the learning opportunities. And I think it creates more flexibility also throughout the classroom, because you could always do like video learning. You could put them on their computer program that would help them, and then you could work with other students. So it kind of creates more learning opportunities, and because we have the tablets and the computers and like video, what is it called? Video conferencing, I guess, that they'll have more opportunities to learn through that technology, and teachers will also have they'll have more training, I guess, in these areas, and so people will be more confident about all of it, I guess. So anyway, I just think that special education is headed in into a good place, I guess. So anyway, I really enjoyed learning about the history of special education and how far we've come, and I think we're only going to go farther. And here is my works cited page where I got all of my information. Anyway, thank you.